Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this session of Python fundamentals. I'm grateful to TDRA for giving me this opportunity to conduct this session. First of all, a brief introduction of myself. My name is Khurram Abbas Shamsi. I am an electrical engineer, and I've been working in the field of information and communication technologies for the last 21 years. During this time, I have worked with numerous organizations and a number of projects in various capacities, such as network engineer, and project manager, and in other capacities as well. In this course, we will start with just a moment. I would like to restart lecture. So in this course, this is a 1-hour session. It will be conducted in English, and the mode will be live online. The aim of this lecture is to develop the basic understanding of the Python language. So to give you a kickstart in writing simple Python scripts, and build a technical foundation from which you can carry on your studies of Python language and programming for the same. So these are the contents which we are going to study in the course of this lecture. We'll have a brief introduction of Python. Then we will discuss Python interpreter and Python shell, variables and operators which are used in Python, Python data types, input functions, and conditional statement. During the session, it will be difficult to take any question and answers, but there will be a 10 to 15 minute question and answer session after the lecture. So first of all, why there is so much buzz about Python, why Python is so famous these days. Everyone is talking about Python. So the key feature of Python is its simplicity. The programming method, the commands, they're extremely simple, and so it makes it an ideal choice for the beginners if they want to start their programmings and implement simple scripts for web environment or desktop environment. As I said, that it is a simple language, so it has fewer lines of codes as compared to another very famous programming language, that is C. So when we have fewer lines of code to do the same task, we have fewer errors, and we have less development time. So this is a plus of Python, that we can quickly construct or build a script and execute it quickly, and then we can develop in a small time. Another advantage is that we have an extensive collection of third-party resources. We have libraries which we can include in our programs, so we don't have to build things from scratch. We have codes and other things, helpful functions and methods already written for us, and we can use them to develop new programs. So this again helps us a lot, makes things simpler, and quickens the development time. So Python has a wide variety of applications. It can be used to create desktop applications, and you can create a database application using Python as well. If you want to do some network programming, you can use Python for that as well. And mobile app development, here Python can also help you. So you can see that applications of Python are vast. So if you learn it, it can help you in any development environment which you are using. It's a cross-platform language, which means that if you create a code in Windows, it will work well with Mac OS or Linux. So these days, when we have a heterogeneous work environment and different people are using different operating system, program or script written in Python is very helpful, because then you can use it in any platform as you like. Uh, Moving forward with the introduction, Python is a high-level language. We, we will see what it is in a moment. It was created by Rossum in late 1980s, but it is around for quite some time, but it has become famous for the last 5, 6 years because of its applications in machine learning and artificial intelligence. And again, due to its simplicity and easy to code ability. So strong emphasis on code readability and simplicity. When we say that Python is a high-level language, we can roughly divide the computer programming languages into high-level languages and low-level languages. High-level languages are the ones which are programmer-friendly. The code is more understandable by the programmer. We have commands like print, input, while, int for integer. So commands and words like these are easier to understand by humans, and so they are programmer friendly or human friendly. On the other hand, we have some low level languages which are not human friendly, but they are machine friendly. They're friendly with the computer. The high level languages, they are easy to understand and can run on any platform because that's how they are designed. Low level languages, they are more machine dependent, and they don't have the ability to move from platform to platform. But the advantage of low level language, they are more memory efficient. They are directly communicating with the computer hardware, so they are more memory efficient. High level languages are easy to debug because you can easily see if there is something wrong with the program you have written, whereas low level languages are difficult to debug. So examples of high level languages is C, C++, Perl, Ruby, and the language which we are studying, Python, it is also a high level language. So when we write a code in high-level language, it looks more like English language. The computer finds it difficult to understand. It is not directly understandable by the computer. So there are two ways for converting a high-level code to machine code. It needs to be compiled or interpreted. So either you need to compile it or interpret it. So what does this mean? In compiled languages or compiler based languages, first the program is converted to an object code using with the help of a compiler before it is executed. The whole program is converted. This is how C, C++, Fortran, and COBOL works. On the other hand, there are some languages which are interpreted languages or interpreter-based languages. So Python is an interpreted language, This code, the code, Python code and similar program code is called a script, and it is not completely converted before execution. It is either converted line by line or in small chunks. Here you can see this is a block diagram of a compiled language. The compiler converts the source code into object code, which is later executed to give you the output. But in an interpreted language, the source code goes through the interpreter, which converts it line by line and gives you the output. So this is so far the introduction of Python. It is simple, it is high-level language, and it is an interpreter-based language. So far we have learned these things. So to continue, we need to work with Python, to run your scripts, you need to have an interpreter installed. Writing and executing, testing your commands, everything, we need to download the interpreter first. It is very simple, and you just need to download it like any other Windows program. You just have to visit this website, www.python.org/downloads. And when you visit it, the latest stable version of Python, because they keep upgrading the versions. So the latest stable version is listed on the top. It is highlighted. Either you can just click it and download it, or you can look for a version of your choice. If you are working with some older version of Python or want to install an older version for any reason, you can scroll down, and there are all the versions which were stable and were used are listed down there. Then you have to choose the correct installer. As per system, you have to provide some information about the system. Either it is a Windows system, Mac system, or Linux system. So another thing which you have to give information you have to give is either it is a 32-bit machine or a 64-bit processor which we are using. So for as an example, if we are using a 64-bit processor with Windows installed on your computer, so this will be more likely be the program which you will be using, Windows x86-64 MSI installer. And once you have successfully downloaded and installed, you are ready to code in the Python language. It is as easy as any other Windows program. Just to give you an idea, this is the image of the Python python.org page from where the downloads are available. Here you can see that we have this option available. This is the latest version, latest stable version 3.9.5, and you can go for Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac OS. So any operating system, you just give your choice to this page and it will provide you the proper installer. Once it is installed, we can start writing our code with the program called IDLE. It is integrated development and learning environment, and this automatically downloads and comes bundled with your Python interpreter. So when you download the interpreter, this program, this is a very helpful program, and it comes automatically, downloaded automatically with your Python interpreter. Launching the IDLE is very easy. You launch it like any other Windows program. You just press the Windows button. Here you can see the recently added programs are listed here. We have Python manuals and Python module docs, which is help on Python. And here you can see the IDLE is available. So you just click ideally, and the shell Python ideally shell will automatically appear. Here you can see that we have Python version, and it is also telling us that it is a 64-bit processor. And for some basic help, you have here, can just type help command to get help, and other commands as well. What it this shell, we'll be switching to it in a moment. It helps us to use Python in an interactive mode. What is an interactive mode? We enter one command at a time, and when we shell waits for the carriage return or the enter button, and as soon as we press enter, it executes the command. It can be a calculation command, or a comparison statement, or simply we want to get the output of something, and then it waits for the next command. So let me switch to the Python shell environment. Here you can see this three greater than prompts is the standard ideally shell prompt. And here you can try some basic commands. Python shell provides you a simple calculator as well. Just press 3 plus 2 and you get 5, 9 minus 2. So it is because it is executing line by line. It is evaluating the expression you are giving. As long as there is no mistake, it will keep on evaluating it. Let's say if we press 8 greater than 2, it is you are asking the shell to compare these two numbers. You press enter and you get a sign that it's true. So it has returned. If on the other hand, if you have returned 3 greater than 9, it will give you false. So it is helping you to compare as well as evaluate. So these are the simple statement. Now we go to the most common, the first command, the first program, which any computer programmer would use, that is printing the hello world on the screen. So for that, I just type print hello world. This is my command. You can see that Python, this shell environment, this is helping me in a way that everything is color coded. The command which I typed is purple, which is showing that it is a built-in function. The text which I have written in the codes is green, which is showing that it is a bunch of characters, and the brackets are black. When I press enter, it will give me the output hello world. Python is very flexible. So if I give a space after print command, it won't mind. It will just print it as it is. And also it allows me to put command with single quotes as well. So while writing a bunch of characters, I can use double quotes and single quotes, but I cannot type it in capital. Here you can see as soon as I have typed a capital P, the color has changed to black, which means that it is not recognizing it as a standard built-in function. What will happen if I press enter? We get an error message, and it says name print is not defined. Previously, the print starting with the small p was a reserved word, was a built-in function, and it worked fine. So we have tried these commands, and we can see that shell can evaluate, shell can compare, and shell can print. So it is a convenient tool for testing Python commands, but when we exit the shell, all commands will be gone. So it is not it is not a proper environment to create whole programs or actual programs. We can just test chunks of programs here. So how to use an actual program? To use an actual program, we have to write the code in a text file. Like any other programming language, we can write the code in a text file and save it with the .py extension, that is Python. So when we save it with .py extension, we can run it with the IDLE. And this file shown with the py extension is called Python script. And how do we create it? We simply go to this program and we open a new file. And we start writing. We first start typing our program, hello world. And now first we need to save it. Control S, we go to our location where we want to save this. And we call it test 111. Let's save it once again because we need to save it as test11.py. Okay, it is already saved with the .py extension. Now, if I press F5 to run the command, to run this program, we go to the run module and click run module, or I just click F5. You can see that it has shown a line that the IDLE was restarted and the Python program test11.py from my location was run and it produced this result, hello world. So when I click the new file, it will bring up the text editor. So the text editor, again, it is different from the standard notepad. It is Python's text editor from bundled with IDLE. It is very useful because it gives you, it supports you while typing your program. Again, it is color coded and it helps with the indentation, which we will discuss in a moment. So we have already written this program. Okay, those of you who are familiar with programming languages know that we can add comments to a program. This line prints hello world. So Python also allows you to add comments in your program. The comments help us to understand what actually the next few lines of code will be doing. This line is not executed by the Python interpreter. And why it is not being executed? Because it is started with the hash symbol. So anything started with the hash sign is considered as a comment. At the point of time when you do not want to an action from a line of code, you can convert it to comment. So I'll just press Control S and then I'll run it again. You can see there is no difference in the output. It again says hello world, and the comment line has not created any problems for us. You need to save as with the py extension, run module, and comment. Everything has been discussed. Another way to write comment is you add these three quotes. Single quote 3 times is also converted to a comment as well. Next part of our study, we'll go through the Python variables, because printing something is not what we want the programs to do. Variable, what is a variable? Variables are actually names given to data that we need to store and manipulate in program. We have memory space available in our program. As soon as we define a variable, we allocate some memory space. And for example, if we want to store user's age, so we have to have a variable for that. We can call this, name this data as user age, and it is defined as follows. User age is equal to 0. So here we have defined a space in the memory which is called user age. We can call it anything. We can call it X, we can call it age, anything, but it is helpful if our variables are descriptive and self-explanatory. In this way, later on, when our programs have hundreds of variables, a large program, we can still understand what a variable is for. So user age is self-explanatory, and we have named this memory space as user age, and we have put a value in it as 0, initialized it. So this command is actually defining or declaring a variable, and as well as initializing it. So two things in one command. So this is why Python code is so smart. So here we have declared a variable, initialize it to a value 0. This way we can allocate a memory space for this variable, and later on we can change the content. Later on, if the user enters 34, so user age, this memory space can change to from 0 to 34. Variable names. How to name a variable? Variable name can start with any alphabet from A to Z, small, lowercase, and it can contain uppercase as well. It can contain numbers, and it can contain underscore. Variable name cannot start with a number. It can start with underscore user name, or it can be user name, or it can be user name. But it cannot be 1, 2 user. This is wrong. So some of the valid formats are shown in first three. This is a valid variable name. This is one is valid. This one is valid. Username 01, nothing wrong with it. Username with an underscore, it's okay. But you cannot have a variable name starting with 5 or any other number, and you cannot have any other special character other than the underscore. This is hyphen or minus sign, so these two variable types are invalid. Also, we cannot name a variable which is a reserved word of Python. We cannot call a variable as print, or variable name cannot be input, because these are already Python built-in function and we cannot have a clash. Similarly, variables are case sensitive. So username is not the same as username. If you have defined a variable in lowercase, then you must address it in lowercase all the time. You cannot just switch cases because Python will identify it as another variable. Two common conventions how to define express long variables. You can have a camel case where the first letter is small, then we have a capital letter, and the third word, first letter is again capital. Or we can have snake case, every word is there is a underscore after every word. So these are two famous notations, and you can use any notation or any type. You can use all caps for your variable, whatever you want. But these makes look your program written by a professional. While defining the variable, you have seen that we have used the assignment operator. User name is equal to Khurram. So here the equal to sign, it is an assignment operator. We are assigning the value written at the right of the code, right of the expression, to the variable written on the left of it. So x is equal to 5. 5 is being assigned to x. Y is defined, and 10 is being assigned to y. And we can write a small program to check. In ideally, let's say we type x is equal to 5 and it is stored, y is equal to 7, again it is stored. We want to print x, we get 5. We want to print y, we get 7. We can also apply a simple mathematical function over here, x plus y, we get 12. You can see here, you can notice that I have not used quotes, because quotes is when I want to print the word or letter as it is. When I print x, I'll get an x. But when I want to get the value stored in the variable x, I will just type x without any quotes, and then I'll get 5. Usual mathematics operations can be performed like few I have just shown. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, simple mathematical operation, division. So these you can apply. For example, we can use print x minus y, and it gives us -2 because 5 minus 7 is -2, or print y divided by x, it gives us 1.4. We have floor division, which rounds down the answer to the nearest whole number. Let's say it works like this: 3 divided by 2, the answer will be 1. We can check it. Sometimes we just want the 3 divided by 2, the answer will be 1. So sometimes we just want the quotient and not the full answer, and we need it in the whole number. And to get the remainder, we have the percent function. It's also called the modulus. And then we have the exponentiation, like 3 raised to the power 2 is 9. So all these functions are available to us to be used in Python. Then we have some basic data types in Python. We have integer data type, which we all know what an integer is. It is a positive or negative number, but not without a decimal portion. So how to declare an Python integer? We'll just write x is equal to 5, and this will define an integer value. Similarly, we have these are some examples of integer variables, integer data types. And then we have another data type which is called float, and these are numbers which have decimal portions, because there are certain data types like your weight in kgs, the distance in meters, and things like that, which may have a decimal portion. So as simple as that, like y is equal to 1.34. This is how we define a float variable. Or here, user height 1.87, or user weight 67.2. Then we have string type variables, and which we have already studied. A string is a series of characters. Any text is defined as string. Sometimes you have to store your name, your address, your location. All these are names and in the computer. So for that purpose, you need a string data type. For example, uh, if I can define a string variable. My name is equal to Khurram, or my address Dubai. So this will define a string type variable, my name and my address, and initialize with the values Khurram and Dubai. For example, username is equal to Saeed, user spouse Fatima. You can see that Saeed has single quotes and Fatima has double quote. Both forms are okay with Python. And then we have user age as 30. You can see here that there are two expressions. User age is equal to 30 with quotes and 30 without quotes. Here it will define an integer type variable, and we can do mathematical operations on this 30. Here it will define a string type variable, and it will be handled as a bunch of characters, and no mathematical operation is allowed on this 30. We can concatenate strings. We can connect them together with a plus operator. For example, if I say x is equal to hello and y is equal to world, and I print x plus y, they cannot be added up, but they can be concatenated. They just written them together. Another function is multiple printing of strings, where I can print, let's say, x and multiply it by 6. So it will print this value of x 6 times. Hello, 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 etc. Similarly, a very helpful string functions is a length function. We can get the length of the string y. This will return us of the length of string world, WORLD, that is 5 character. It will provide us the length of the string. So these are very useful string functions, and there are a lot of string functions in Python libraries which can be used to handle strings, to display them as per your requirement. So these can be used from time to time as per your requirement. You can go through those. Till now, our program was a kind of one way. We program everything and we just get a display. Uh, Normally, a program is helpful when it is interactive, and it gets an input from the user and then produces a result. So an interactive program is one that prompts the user and get an input from him or her. And for that, we will use the input function. And input function, here we can check how we are going to use the input function. Let's say you are asking about the for user to enter his name. My name is, enter your name. When you run it, it will give you a prompt where you can enter your name. Let's say I entered Ali, and now it is stored in my name. And if I want to print it, I will say print my name, and it will print Ali. Here, this command is actually a combination of 3 commands. This command contains 3 commands. It is declaring a variable, my name. Number two, it is prompting the user, prompting the user to enter his name, this portion, enter your name. And it is assigning whatever the user will enter, it is assigning the value, the input to the variable. So three commands in a single command. That is why, that is the power of Python, because this is why the code is written so quickly, because three commands are handled by one. So the other command, next command is enter your age, and then the user can enter his age, and I can write a print command. The name is so my name. In this command, I have told the interpreter to print the name is at as it is, and then give the value my name. The result is the name is Ali. How this works is that this portion is displayed as it is, and then we want to use our variable. We put the name of the variable after this. So this is how you get complete expressions. To get an integer input, this is the way to get string input. Integer input is a bit, this is the default input method, and it will convert anything you enter after this thing, it will convert it to a string type. To get an integer input, you must use the enclose the command in this. Everything now entered is converted to integer and then assigned to num1. So we will just try it. Num1 is equal to int bracket start input, again bracket start, enter a number, and this is, will prompt the user to enter a number. I forgot to use this was not being executed because I did not close the even the number of parentheses. Now it will ask me to enter a number, and I just entered 32. Now 32 is stored in num1. I will say print num1, and it will print this number. Now I cannot perform mathematical operations on Ali. I cannot say my name +1. It will give me an error message because integer functions are not allowed with strings. But if I say num1 +2, it will give me 34. It has added 2 to 32 and given me 34. Now, in the last of lectures, we'll just check some conditional statement, because getting input and printing the same output is always not very useful. The programs are, the conditional statements are those statements which determine the flow of programs. If a condition is true, it goes one way. If the condition is false, it goes the other way. To test a condition, we will use the relational operators. This checks the equality. This checks the inequality, greater than, smaller than, greater than equal to, or smaller than equal to. So those of you who are familiar with mathematics are familiar with these relational operators. 4 is equal to 5. If I type 4 is equal to 5, it is false, so it will go to the false line. 7 is greater than 3 is true, so it will be used that way. So in addition to the relational operator, we have logical operators and or and not, which can be used along with the relational operator for more complex conditions. So the most simple and most commonly used conditional statement is if statement. It is simple as like, if this is the case, then do this. If this is not the case, then do that. In if statement, the indentation is very important as there are no brackets. So how do we do that? If we write a small program, let's test the if statement. Uh, I will ask the user to get an input from the user. Marks is equal to int input, enter the marks. This will ask the user to enter the marks. Now I put the condition if marks lesser than 60, just print a statement unsatisfactory. I'll try to run it. Let's see if it's work. Enter the marks. I say 45 and it says unsatisfactory. I run it again and I enter 78 and it doesn't do anything. So it was the simplest use of if statement, in which we just ask the user to enter the mask. Here you can see that this is how you place the condition. Marks, if marks are lesser than 60, then print unsatisfactory. If we want another statement within this if, another print statement, try again. We have to do it with an indent. You can see there is a tab after if. So I just do this and F5, enter the mask. I again enters 55. You can see there are two lines printed after it, unsatisfactory and try again. Just in case I forget to use this indentation, now this, the second print statement is out of the if condition. I do it like this, and it will be, this will be printed anyway. Marks are like 90, it still stays try again, whereas it shouldn't be saying try again, but we remove the indent which is necessary for this print to work. So this is the simplest form of the if statement. If a condition occurs, then do A. Normally, the if statement comes with two angles. That if the condition is true, do this, otherwise do that. So we can add another line, else, and if that does not occur, good. Either it is unsatisfactory or it's good. I'll run it, and if the marks are 45, it will print unsatisfactory. Try again. I'll run it again, and if the marks are like 78, it will print good. So this is how we use the if statement. You must notice that we have a colon after else, we have a colon after the condition we put after if. So without these colons, this thing will not work. Then we have more conditional statements, more options in conditional statements, like there can have more options, more choices, more scenarios. So we can have elif statement. For example, if we want to print grades, so if it is less than 60, it should print fail uh, and we can start from the top. If it is greater than 80, it should print A grade, and LF the condition is marks greater than 65, it should print B grade, and then another if statement, it is called else if. Marks greater than 50 can print C, C grade, and at the end we can have the usual else. If not all these, then it should print fail. So when I run this program, it will ask me to enter the marks. I enter 67, it gives me B grade. I run the program again. I enter the marks as let's say 95, it gives me A grade. I run the program again. I enter the marks as 23, and it gives me the answer fail. So this is how we use the conditional statement. With this, we end our today's session. And if you have any questions regarding the things which we have done so far, this was an introductory session, and it was supposed to give you a kickstart in the world of Python, and how it is helpful, and the way we have used it. You have been introduced to Python shell, writing simple Python scripts, using Python data types, and getting input from the user, making small decisions, small calculations, then using the if statement and other things. So we can write another program if we have time for this, and we can use the and or, because right now I cannot see any questions so far. Let me check. So we can use this time to add and marks lesser than 100. So we can use additional statements. Here we are using the logical operator and with the comparison operator. And we have made the condition more complicated by introducing the and in it. It should work same way. Enter the marks, and let's say the marks are 85, it will give us the A grade. What if the program is right now, the program will accept any entry which is beyond 100 as well. Let's try it. If I enter 150, it gives me B grade, which is absolutely wrong. First, we cannot enter the marks as 150. So how do we do that? We need to add conditions that if marks greater than 65 and marks lesser than 80, greater than and equal to 80 and lesser than and equal to 100. We are adding and in the conditions and making it more sophisticated. The ranges were a bit wayward. greater than 50 and equal to 50, and marks lesser than 65. If you have any questions, you can ask anytime. And change it with an aleph if marks are greater than or equal to 0 and marks are lesser than 50. It will print fail, and else it will just print invalid entry. So this program will cover the invalid entry scenario as well. Now, if I enter the marks, let's say 160, it says it's an invalid entry. Similarly, if I enter negative marks like minus 34, it says invalid entry. The program will only work if I enter marks from 0 to 100. Let's say 67, and it will give me a B grade, and 87, and it will give me an A grade. So, in the end, I would thank you everyone for attending this session, and I would like to thank TDRA for giving me this opportunity to conduct this session. And if you have any questions regarding this session which we have conducted so far, you're most welcome to post any questions. Okay, there is a question regarding the indentation thing, which we discussed. So indentation is very important. Writing the if statement, there is a condition, and after the condition, you must have colon, and then you have a tab, and then you write do A, and if you want more statements, then you write do B, and things like that. As soon as you leave this indentation and go back to the line of the if statement, this is beyond the function of if. So this is for the indentation. Obviously, okay, another question, Python is case sensitive. Yes, Python is case sensitive. You cannot have print with a capital P. Similarly, you cannot user name and username. These are two different variables, and you should remember that what kind of variable you have put while defining it in the first place, so that you can refer to it later on. Similarly, yes, so you cannot use inputting a type float. There's a question about it, and you can write it like this: my number. Maybe you want a float number, you will start it like this: float input, and whatever. So with this, I would like to end this session, and thank you for joining us, and I thank you TDRA for giving me this opportunity. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.